Right, I've taken my plain base and I've started to apply the flowers. As you can see, I've made my full complement of 7 flowers and I've started to apply them to the base. Now I had a little play to see where they all fitted best. I want them to just about touch one another so that they're concealing the wireframe underneath, but I don't want them to be too bunched up. The aim of it is to make a nice arrangement and to conceal the frame at the same time. Now I've got 1 flower left to go, so I can show you how to attach them, and that's going to go up that end corner. If I flip this over, you can see I've got a blue flower quite close to this end loop here, and then I've got 2 flowers along the top, and I've got 3 flowers equidistant spaced along the bottom. I actually haven't got anything on this centre wire. Now that's because that's the way the flowers fitted best, but it doesn't mean that you don't need this centre piece of wire, because we're going to add some leaves in a minute, and I think I'm going to use that to add a couple of leaves. It also adds extra structural support, because otherwise it tends to be a little bit twisty and not so secure. Right, so that final flower is going to go into that hole, and I've got 2 long wire ends. I'm going to separate the 2 wire ends and get rid of the rest of the wire from the other flowers. And you'll notice I haven't trimmed any wires yet. There's still 2 wires attached to every flower. I'm going to put 1 wire end one side of one of the support wires and 1 the other, and then I can draw this up. Let's have a look at the position. That's about right. And now I just wrap the 2 ends around the frame. I wrap them along the rope that we made when we were making the frame, just to blend in with the twists I've already made. Now this other one, because I'm right near the end, I'm just going to wrap around the base of the loop, but I'm being very careful not to obstruct the loop, because that's where my strings will attach. Okay, so my flowers are attached. So there's the back, there's the front, and I've got all of these wire ends. Now we can just trim the wire ends off, but at the moment the flowers are a little bit wibbly wobbly and we've got some gaps. So the gaps, I want to make some leaves. Now I'm going to start in this gap here. That's crying out for a leaf. You can see the main sort of support there, so I need something to conceal it. So I'm going to make a leaf. I happen to have one of the wire ends, in fact it's a wire end from this flower here, that's worked its way along and has emerged here. So I'm going to use that to make my leaf. I'm going to bring in some size 8 seed beads, and these are in a similar sort of alabaster finish to the ones I've used around the centres of the flowers, but this is obviously in a green. But leaves don't have to be green, they can be any colour you want. Right, bring those up to the bottom of where it joins the main bit of frame, and so I've got 10 seed beads on there. I want to make the point on the leaf, so I'm going to take away 1 bead, so I'm going, and then this is bead number 9. I'm going to pass back through bead number 9 towards bead number 8, and I'm going to pull through. I need to do this gently because I don't want to snap this bead number 9, and I want to keep this end of the wire nice and smooth so that all of it pulls through. So I'm sorry if my thumb's in the way, but I just need to control the wire carefully. There we go, so we've pulled up that bead to be an anchor for the tip of the leaf. Now I put on 10 beads originally. That's bead number 9 and bead number 10. So I've got 8 beads left that are loose on the wire that will form the side of the leaf. So I need to put on another 8 to match that 8. That's 5, 6, 7, 8. Bring the 2 sides of the leaf together at the base and give it a twist. And if I separate the 2 sides, that makes my leaf. Now I need to secure this end of the wire by wrapping it around the frame, and I'll wrap it a little bit further on. Make sure I've got through the right gap. I have, but I've got a kink in it. That's that little kink that was catching. If you get a kink like that, make sure you unwind it. Don't just pull it out, because that causes a weakness in the wire. And wind it on so that I can secure it. And that's my first little leaf. Now I've got 7 flowers attached. Each flower has 2 wire ends attached to it, so potentially I can add 14 leaves. I don't think I'll need that many, but I don't want to snip off any ends yet until I'm sure I've got exactly what I want leaf-wise. So I'm going to continue working, adding some leaves to fill in some gaps, and I'll come back to you and see how far I've got. To make my necklace centre up into a necklace of full length, I'm going to add 2 strands of pearls on one side and 2 strands of pearls on the other. I'm going to use 2 strands because I'm only using a 4mm bead, and I think I'm going to visually need those 2 strands to make it look substantial enough to hold this design. 1 strand will actually hold it, but visually I think 2 strands will be better. Now because I want these 2 strands to sit one inside the other on each side, I'm not exactly sure how long and what the bead count is going to be at the moment. The inner strand will be the exact length for the necklace. The outer strand will have to be slightly longer to go around the outside of the curve made by the inner strand. So I'm going to join 4 pieces of stranded beading wire on and have a little bit of an experiment. Now our stranded beading wire is going to attach to the 2 loops on our support frame, and if you've not used stranded beading wire before, it's secured with these little French crimp beads. Now 1 French crimp on, pass the stranded beading wire through the loop you want to attach it to, and slide the crimp down to make the loop. Now you can see that loop is attached directly to the wire loop on my necklace frame. So let's bring the crimp down to make a smallish loop, because we don't want all that wire showing. We just want enough to hold and to be able to run around that loop successfully so everything flexes. And to hold it in place, flat nose pliers just to squash the crimp. Now you can use crimping pliers, but I prefer flat nose pliers, and just give it a squash, and that secures it. I'll do the same with a second length of wire and attaching to the same side of the necklace. There we go. And squash. Right, so that's 2 pieces of wire attached to that side. I'm going to do the same on the other side, and I'm going to thread on some 4mm pearls. When I've got the pearls on, I'll come back to you and show you how to set the length and finish off. I'm nearly there. I've threaded on 40 pearl beads in a blue colour and a pink colour, 40 onto one side, 40 onto the other. and this is the inner string of my necklace design. Now I've worked out that 44mm pearls is the right length for me for the inner string of this necklace. 40 beads plus the decoration at the front, plus allowing a little bit for a clasp, is just the right length for where I want this to sit when it's worn. Now if I push those right to the front so I can make sure they're really tight, and I'll bring in the outer row that I've also threaded on. As you can see, the outer row fits just around the outside of the inner row when it's made into an approximate circle, and that's because that's approximately the shape it'll make around your neck. Necks aren't circular, but this gives you an idea of the length of pearls that you need. Now, having counted the green beads opposed to the pink beads, I can tell you I've had to put 4 more green beads on, and I've had to put 4 more lilac beads on this side compared to the 40 beads on the inner row, and that's because they're travelling a further distance to go around the edge of the circle. Now I think that's about right. I just need to push them right up to the front and make sure, you see, that's nice and even all the way around. Let's have a look at this one. I think this one might be a little bit over length. Let's have a little look. No, actually it's okay. If I take off one, is that a better fit? Yes, it is. So I'm going to take an extra bead off there. So actually there's going to be 40 green and only 43 of the lilac, but that's mainly due to the handmade nature of the frame at the front. These 2 loops won't be identical, so the strands of pearls will be coming off at slightly different angles. Right, now we're ready to finish off the back. Now I'm just going to put on a conventional clasp. It needs to be a relatively large one, but I do need to finish off the strand ends first. So it's crimp, pass the end of the thread back through the crimp and back through 1 or 2 beads if you can manage. I'm just going to do 1 bead, and then you pull the loop down. You see I'm using round nose pliers to help me make a nice loop, and then I squash the crimp flat. In with the wire cutters and trim. I'll do that again. On with the crimp, back through the crimp, back through the end bead or 2. Sometimes pearls behave and sometimes it won't let the thread back through twice, so you might need to just swap over your end bead to make sure you've got one that the thread will go back through. All the pearls have the same size hole, it's just the nacre, the finish on them, bungs up the hole and makes it difficult to get the thread back through, as you're seeing here. So another trick is to turn the pearl around. Pearls have a definite entry and exit hole, so sometimes, although it won't go through one way, it might go through the other, and it does. It's getting it out the other end. There it is. Let's pull it down nice and neat. Make sure there's no gaps between the beads, because that's always annoying. You think you've finished and then you notice the thread got caught up and you've got a gap. Last one. That's easy. And trim. Right. And now it's just jump rings to finish off. So 2 pairs of pliers to open your jump rings. Through that loop and through that loop. When it's worn, this is going to be the left hand side of the necklace. So by convention, the left hand side of the necklace has just the anchoring rings on, and the right hand side of the necklace has the clasp. I'm afraid it's a right-handed person's world when it comes to necklace clasps. We don't need that extra ring there. There we go. That's our Marcie necklace update complete. I now just need somewhere to wear it. Thank you very much indeed for watching. I hope you'll give it a go. I think it's an absolutely delightful design, and it should suit you. Thank you very much.